Chapter 12. Behind closed doors. On Monday, the hum of normalcy returned as Dr. Carrington and his staff reconvened at the office. Patients lined the waiting area, staff shuffled through files, and the phones rang incessantly, a typical start to the week. Yet for Dr. Carrington, nothing about this Monday felt routine. His emotions from Saturday night lingered, casting a shadow over his mood. The combination of becoming a grandfather and Johnny May's unexpected appearance with Michael left him grappling with conflicting feelings of pride, loss, and simmering resentment. Late in the morning, Russell III arrived at the office with baby Russell H. Carrington IV cradled in his arms. Staff members gathered around, cooing at the infant, while Dr. Carrington stood back, watching with a mix of pride and detachment. When his son handed him the baby, Dr. Carrington hesitated for a moment before taking the child into his arms. The baby looked up at him, his tiny features resembling those of his son at that age. "Well," Russell said with a faint smile, "he's a fine-looking boy." The room filled with warm chatter as the staff congratulated Russell III and took turns admiring the baby. For a moment, the tension that had been plaguing Dr. Carrington seemed to lift, replaced by a rare feeling of familial connection. As Russell III prepared to leave, Dr. Carrington placed a hand on his shoulder. "Take care of your family," he said firmly. "This is your responsibility now." "Yes, sir," his son replied, sensing the weight of his father's expectations. Despite the brief reprieve, the events of Saturday night still gnawed at Dr. Carrington. He couldn't shake the image of Johnny May and Michael, their easy smiles and obvious chemistry. It felt like a deliberate affront, a reminder that she had moved on while he remained tethered to his carefully constructed but increasingly fragile world. As the day wore on, his irritation began to seep into his interactions with the staff. He snapped at the other receptionist, Elsie, for a minor scheduling error and dismissed Dr. Harding's suggestion for a new procedure without consideration. By the afternoon, Gwendolyn Dunn, the orthodontist, approached him in his office. "Russell," she began, closing the door behind her, "is everything all right?" He looked up from his desk, his expression guarded. "Why wouldn't it be?" "Because you've been on edge all day," she replied. "We've all noticed it. If there's something going on, you can talk to us." Dr. Carrington sighed and leaned back in his chair. "It's nothing, Gwendolyn, just a lot on my mind. Let's focus on the patients." She nodded but didn't press further. As she left, Dr. Carrington stared out the window, his thoughts returning to Johnny May. That evening, as the office quieted and the last patient left, Dr. Carrington called for Elsie Johnson and Johnny May to come to his office. His mind was preoccupied as the two women stepped in. "Have a seat," he said. The atmosphere turned ominous when they realized Dr. Carrington was holding a .38 revolver in one hand and locking the door with the other. With a single question, he demanded, "Why did you come?" He knew Johnny May's appearance at the dinner party wasn't a coincidence. Whether it was intentional or not, her presence had unsettled him, forcing him to confront emotions he thought he'd buried. The lingering bitterness and jealousy gnawed at him, even as he told himself he had no right to feel this way. He had ended things with her, and yet the thought of her moving on felt like a betrayal. The tension was palpable in Dr. Carrington's office as Elsie and Johnny May stood before him, trapped in the suffocating space. Both women had their eyes wide with a mix of confusion and apprehension, unsure of what had just transpired. "I gave her everything," Dr. Carrington yelled again, his voice trembling with rage. His hands shook as he gripped the revolver. "Everything, and this is how she repays me, by leaving, by humiliating me. After all I've done, after all I've given her, she turns her back on me. She ruins my life." Elsie glanced nervously at Johnny May, whose expression was unreadable. Still, she could see the tension in Johnny May's shoulders, the anxiety in the way she stood. "Russell, calm down," Elsie urged, though her own voice quivered. She had never seen him like this before. "This isn't the way to handle things. You can't—" He ignored her, his eyes locked on Johnny May. "You listen to me," Dr. Carrington snapped. "You only have two choices. Stay here with me or die." His words hung in the air like a poisonous fog. Elsie's heart skipped a beat. She had seen him angry before, but never this cold, never this dangerous. Johnny May, for the first time, stood her ground, her lips pressed into a tight line. She felt the weight of his gaze but refused to let him see her falter. Don't think you can control me, Johnny May said, her voice steady despite the flicker of fear in her eyes. I'm done with you, Russell. You can't make me stay, and you sure as hell can't threaten me into submission. Russell's face twisted in disbelief. He stepped closer, his voice rising. You think you can just walk away from me? You think I'll let you ruin everything I've worked for? After everything I've given you, this is how you repay me? The room felt smaller, the walls closing in. Elsie took a step back, not knowing what to do or how to stop the escalating madness. She had always been the one to clean up Russell's messes, but this was beyond anything she had ever witnessed. Dr. Carrington's eyes flickered toward Elsie. His anger, though still boiling, shifted into something darker. Tell her, Elsie. Tell her she doesn't have a choice. Elsie's mouth went dry. Her mind raced, but the fear gnawing at her made it hard to think. She had never been afraid of Russell before, but this evening felt different. She knew he was capable of dangerous things, and she had seen the cracks in his facade, but to witness him like this, unhinged and desperate, was unsettling. I can't, Russell, Elsie stammered, shaking her head. You're not thinking clearly. Dr. Carrington's face turned red with fury, his jaw clenching as he turned away. He walked to the sofa in his office. Then I'll make her understand. She's mine, and I'll make her stay. No one walks away from me. No one. Elsie watched helplessly, her instincts screaming at her to intervene before this escalated any further. But she knew the power Dr. Carrington held, the grip he maintained over everyone in his orbit. And in this moment, she feared for all of them. Johnny May's heart pounded in her chest as she took a step forward. You don't get to control me anymore, she said, her voice a little firmer now, even though the threat in the room was palpable. I've had enough of your games, Dr. Carrington. I'm done. And if you think you can scare me into staying, you're mistaken. For a moment, Dr. Carrington just stared at her, as if trying to process her defiance. But the words from earlier, the threat of life and death, still lingered in the room, dark and unforgiving. I can make you stay, he muttered under his breath, more to himself than to her. Elise, desperate to defuse the situation, stepped in. Russell, please, this has gone too far. Let's just... No, he snapped. She needs to understand. She's been nothing but trouble for me, and she's going to learn what happens when you mess with me. As the confrontation built, something shifted in the room, a tension too thick to ignore. Johnny May stood firm, her gaze unwavering. She knew she was no longer in control of the situation, but she wasn't about to let Russell tear her down again. I'm not afraid of you, she said quietly, her words underlined by conviction. And I'm not going to stay. I've learned enough about you to know exactly what kind of man you are. I don't need you. Dr. Carrington's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. Frustration, betrayal, and anger swirled within him in a dangerous mix. His mind raced, and in a moment of panic, he reached for his phone, dialing a number without thinking. But before he could speak, Elise placed a hand on his arm. Russell, this isn't the way. You're going to destroy everything. Your reputation, your practice, and worse, you'll destroy yourself. Don't make this worse than it already is. Dr. Carrington pulled away, frustration boiling over into something darker. He wasn't used to feeling so out of control. He wasn't used to being challenged. His hands trembled as he dialed his father's number. Russell Sr. had always been a figure of authority in his life, the one man he both feared and revered. Maybe, just maybe, his father could make sense of this chaos. Russell, his father answered on the third ring, voice steady and calm. What's going on? I need you here, Dr. Carrington said, his voice raw, edged with desperation. I'm holding Johnny May in my office. I need help. You have to come. There was a long pause on the other end. What are you talking about, son? Russell Sr.'s voice deepened, confusion and concern creeping through. What's going on? I've made mistakes, Dad, Dr. Carrington whispered, his breath catching. She's trying to ruin everything I've worked for. She's leaving me. I can't let her go. You have to get here now. Silence stretched before Russell Sr. spoke again, more firmly this time. Hold tight, son, I'm on my way. Don't do anything rash. As tension inside Dr. Carrington's office thickened, word began to spread among the staff. Whispers turned into phone calls, and soon rumors buzzed through the streets outside Garwin Medical Center. Onlookers gathered on the sidewalk, drawn by the sudden drama surrounding the once respected dentist and community figure.